All right, third grade. So last week we did our snowflakes and we used oil pastels if we had them, or a crayon or something waxy or oily. And we made our X with the vertical and the horizontal line, and then we added little V's to make them look more snowflakey. So what you need for today is you need your watercolor set from your art kit, you need your big green paintbrush, you need some water, probably a paper towel, and a little bit of salt. I have kosher salt because it's thicker, but seriously, use whatever salt you have at home. You just need a tiny bit. Like what I have right here is way too much. I just need a few granules of salt. All right, so what we want to do is we're going to paint this. So we're going to do that watercolor resist. And the oil pastel will resist the water so we can paint right over it. My challenge to you is to use cool colors to paint your snowy sky. We are just painting the background, we're not painting a picture. So we want to keep it really watery and loose. So remember, watercolors needs lots of water. So the first thing you'll do, and your watercolor set is actually set up for you. These are warm colors, and down here are cool colors. It's green, blue, purple. This is magenta. It's like a pinky purple, but we can call it a cool color, and turquoise. So you can use any of these 5 colors. I don't want any of the warm colors, okay? We want to keep our snowflakes like a cool colored winter day. So the first thing, once you decide, and you have to use at least 2 colors, you can use all 5 or any combination, but at least 2 colors. When you start, you get your paintbrush. Remember, we swish, 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 drip on the sides so it's not super wet, and then you go in, you can wiggle, wiggle, or tickle, tickle. So I'm just going to swish around, and I'm going to wiggle my paintbrush a couple times. I don't need to dig in there. It's not ketchup and I'm eating french fries. It's just a couple wiggles, and then I'm ready to go. And you can start painting. You can paint right over that oil pastel. You don't have to worry about being very neat this time. What you should be looking for is you're painting with puddles. So lots and lots of water. This should be pretty light, and we don't want it to be too dark, but how cool is it when it goes over the watercolor? So we want it really wet, because if it's not really wet, our little trick is not going to work. So once you paint a good section, you kind of will go fast. I'm rinsing my paintbrush between colors. So I'm painting. I see I left a little bit of white space there. I can just paint right over it. And you'll notice when you're painting, wet color next to wet color kind of bleeds together, and that's okay. If you want your paint to be a little lighter, add water. And I'm just going to paint a little bit of this. And you can, again, use whatever colors make you happy. You don't want your painting so dark it covers your snowflakes and we can't see them, because that defeats the purpose. All right, so paint a good chunk of your paper, and then once it's still wet, the trick is to do this when it's wet. You're going to take a pinch of salt, and you're just going to drop a couple little grains of salt over your paper. Okay. Now maybe you're like, Mrs. Cole, but I'm not done painting. That's okay. So I'm going to let the salt do its magic. It's going to hang out there, and you should see the salt start to turn a darker color and start to absorb the paint, and that's what we want to do. So I'm going to keep painting. Maybe I'll add some blue this time. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to paint some blue. Remember, we want our paint to be really wet, so we're kind of pushing colored puddles around. You kind of want to go quickly, because if our painting dries, the trick doesn't work. Ooh, that's really dark, and I don't want it that dark, so I'm going to add just some clear water and move that paint around and thin it out. And you don't want it that dark because you can't see your snowflakes under there. I want to soften that line between my other stuff, so you're going to try not to paint over what you've already painted. All right, so then once you have some wet spots again, take your time out when you paint that section and sprinkle a few things of salt. And you know it's okay if the salt starts absorbing it. If not all of them absorb it, that's okay. We just want to see a couple spaces so you can see where the salt is turning colors. All right, then we'll just keep going. We're going to add lots of water to my brush, a little. And if some salt kind of sprinkled outside of your painting, that's okay. You'll just paint over it, have a little bit of a texture. We kind of want this to be kind of soft. like a really cold, snowy morning. That purple gets really dark really quick, so you want to be careful with that. Around your snowflakes, maybe keep it dark in the corners, that can be fine. You can see my paper is soaking through to the stuff I have on the back because I do double-sided art sometimes. All right, and then I'm just going to do the turquoise. And this shouldn't take too long. We kind of want to go fast. You can't be a slow painter with this. We don't have to worry about being really careful or precise because we're just painting the background a solid color. Now I dripped a little blue into my pink, and that's okay. I'm just going to soften it. I want to add a little purple in here, and you can mix a couple colors on top of each other if you want to look a little different. All right, so my last little bit of salt, I'm going to put in my hand. And while it's wet, I'm just going to sprinkle. We don't want to do lots and lots. We want to keep those salt crystals kind of by themselves. All right, now, thing is, the magic is going to happen as it dries. So as you can see where my salt crystals are turning colors, some of my salt crystals stayed white, and that's okay. I'm just going to leave them because at least if I have a couple sections where the salt crystals are changing colors, I know it's going to work. So I'm just going to leave this at wherever you leave it to dry. So if you have to move it from the table to keep doing school, when you pick it up, I want you to be really careful and hold it straight like a tray of cookies. But so you can see where my salt is starting to turn colors, and that's what we want. Once it's dry, scrape off or wipe off the salt and then take your picture. Because when you wipe off that salt, it leaves a really fun texture behind. So to take a picture is going to take a couple hours. So once you're done with your snowflake painting, you've salted, then you have to wait for it to dry. Once it's dry, scrape the salt and then take your picture. If you have any questions, we'll answer them on the live call, or you can email me anytime. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye.